आइए आपसे शेयर करते हैं।
August House, I wish to take the nation into confidence on the situation arising from the Abbottabad operation and the death of Osama bin Laden. Early morning, the same day, I had extensive consultations with President Zardari, Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, the Chief of the Army Staff, Director General ISI, and other important stakeholders on issues relating to Pakistan's national security. The government's position on the Abbottabad operation and the death of Osama bin Laden, as enunciated, the official statement was based on extensive interagency and interdepartmental consultation process. Honorable Speaker, in today's age of information explosion, it is important to sift facts from fiction. Very often, it is the virtual or the media reality that obscures the actual. Yet, truth cannot for long be submerged in falsehood. Fascination for high drama sometimes makes us forget the sequence and context of fast-moving events that are splashed on television screens. However, every development has a context. Its correct appreciation requires a dispassionate view of history. It is well known that those who forget history are condemned to relive it. Some of the recent public discourse, narratives and counter-narratives in talk shows and public comments have missed some essential points. Reaffirmations is necessary. Let there be no doubt. Pakistan is a proud nation. Our people value their honor and dignity. Our nation is resilient. Our real strength is our people and our state institutions. We are all united and fully committed to sparing no sacrifice to uphold our national dignity and honor, to safeguard our supreme national interests by all means and all resources at our command. No other nation has successfully met so many challenges. No other people have been put to so many tests by history and by circumstances of geography and geopolitics. No other nation has borne the collective burden of the international community. Our nation has met all these challenges with supreme confidence, which is born out of our firm belief in the noble injunctions of a glorious religion, Islam, our societal values, our culture and traditions. Ever since our independence, Pakistan stood up for our values, which are also universal: freedom, dignity, equality, tolerance, humanity, harmony, and brotherhood. Pakistan's foreign policy has always reflected our national ethos, which undoubtedly transcends considerations of narrow interest or politics of expediency. Pakistan is not only a state, but an ideal that our courageous and talented people strive in their daily lives to translate into reality. Our democratic and pluralistic polity, as epitomized by this August House, state institution, free press, open and intense public discourse are indeed a great strength. Our friends can from this discourse fathom the depth of our sentiments, the aspirations of our people, the authentic spirit that guides and inspires them to seek equality, justice, security, peace, progress, and prosperity. For over 30 years, Pakistan was impacted by the conflict and strife in Afghanistan. In that struggle, we together with the rest of the world decided to uphold the principle of self-determination for the great Afghan nation. We opened our homes and our hearts to those who fled the conflict in Afghanistan and also supported the great jihad. I talk of a bygone era. However, it is perhaps necessary to remind everyone about that era, which has been so well documented, including in the CNN series on the Cold War, showing video footage of high-ranking US officials exhorting the Afghans and Mujahideen to wage jihad, to go back to their homes in the name of Islam and as a national duty. For us, all this was real. We have continued to suffer from its effects. Is it necessary for us to remind the international community of the decade of the 90s, which saw the Arab volunteers who had joined the jihad mutate into Al-Qaeda? Who was responsible for the birth of Al-Qaeda? Who was responsible for making the myth of Osama bin Laden? To find answers to today's question, it is necessary to revisit the not-so-distant past. Collectively, we must acknowledge facts and see our faces in the mirror of history. Pakistan alone cannot be held to account for flawed policies and blunders of others. Pakistan is not the birthplace of Al-Qaeda. We did not invite Osama bin Laden to Pakistan or even to Afghanistan. It is fair to ask, who was Osama bin Laden and what did he personify? Osama bin Laden was the most wanted terrorist and enemy number one of the civilized world. Elimination of Osama bin Laden, who launched waves after waves of terrorist attacks against innocent Pakistanis, is indeed justice done. However, we are not so naive to declare victory. Mission accomplished and turn around. The myth and legacy of Osama bin Laden remains to be demolished. The anger and frustration of ordinary people over injustice, oppression, and tyranny that is sought to harness to fuel the fire of terrorism in the world needs to be addressed. Otherwise, this rage will find new ways of expression. Pakistan believes in democracy and pluralism, a society that strives for equality and dignity. An open and transparent society is undoubtedly essential for addressing the rage and anger arising from political or economic injustices. When we say that in this war against terrorism, Pakistan has lost some 30,000 men, women and children, and more than 5,000 armed forces personnel, billions of dollars lost as economic costs, we do not intend to put a price or seek acknowledgement or recognition from anyone. The war against terrorism is our own national priority. Our nation is united in its resolve to eliminate terrorism from our sacred land. Pakistan will not relent in this national cause and is determined not to allow its soil to be used by anyone for terrorism. This national consensus was built by our democracy. This parliament and the entire political leadership of this country, our patriotic citizens and state institutions are all united in the resolve to prosecute this campaign against terror to its logical end. We will utilize all means and resources and inshallah succeed. Mr. Speaker, now let me briefly retrace the first decade of new millennium. International forces marched into Afghanistan to dismantle the Taliban regime after 9/11. In fact, Taliban had already left Kabul and taken along Al-Qaeda to their hideouts in Afghanistan. The Tora Bora bombings resulted in the dispersal of Al-Qaeda. Even at that time, we had cautioned the international forces on the consequences of a flawed military campaign could lead to the dispersal of Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda leaders and foot soldiers sought hideouts everywhere, in the mountains and deep inside cities, including Pakistan. We did not invite Al-Qaeda to Pakistan. In fact, for the first time, our armed forces were deployed in Tira Valley to form a security cordon to interdict Al-Qaeda during the Tora Bora bombings. In that operation, 248 Al-Qaeda members were captured by our armed forces. Subsequently, Pakistan Inter-Services Intelligence prosecuted the anti-terror strategy with a high degree of professionalism and superb determination. In fact, some 40 of the key Al-Qaeda operatives, including Chief Operation Officer Firaj al-Libi and Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the master planner of 9/11, were captured by the ISI. Pakistan's armed forces also carried out successful operations in Swat, Malakand, South Waziristan, Momen, and Bajour agencies against terrorists and militants. No other country in the world and no other security agencies has done so much to interdict Al-Qaeda than the ISI and our armed forces. This was done with the full support of the nation and in accordance with the political will articulated by the Parliament of Pakistan. It is disingenuous for anyone to blame Pakistan or state institution of Pakistan, including the ISI and the armed forces, for being in cahoots with Al-Qaeda. It was Al-Qaeda and its affiliates that carried out hundreds of suicide bombings in nearly every town and city of Pakistan, and also targeted political leaders, state institutions, the ISI and the general headquarters. The obvious question that has vexed everyone is how could Osama bin Laden hide in plain sight in the scenic surroundings of Abbottabad? Let's not rush to judgment. Allegations of complicity or incompetence are absurd. We emphatically reject such accusations. Speculative narratives in the public domain are meant to create despondency. We will not allow our detractors to succeed in offloading their own shortcomings and errors of omissions and commissions in a blame game that stigmatizes Pakistan. This issue of the hideouts needs a national answer, rational answer. Recrimination and misplaced rhetoric is self-defeating. Yes, there has been an intelligence failure. It is not only ours, but of all the intelligence agencies of the world. The Al-Qaeda chief, along with other Al-Qaeda operators, had managed to elude global intelligence agencies for a long time. He was constantly being attacked not only by the ISI, but also by other intelligence agencies. It was the ISI that passed key leads to CIA that enabled the US intelligence to use superior technological assets and focus on the area in which Osama bin Laden was eventually found. All this has been explained in the statements issued by the Foreign Ministry and the ISPR, as well as in the detailed briefing by the Foreign Ministry. Asymmetrical warfare happens to be the tool in vogue against superior conventional forces. Terrorism falls in that category. Osama bin Laden used terror for